afternoon. I'm Attorney Alex Ponceno, also the Program Advisor of PhD Public Land and MBA of Bicol University Catholic School. This is just a part of question of my sitting here. We know for a fact that this is actually a request of our Honorable Congresswoman regarding education. Of course, we know for a fact that reality-wise, we really have a stream of needs as well as demands when it comes to education. And we know also for the fact that learning process or learning processes take place in a locus. Locus, a place of learning, which in the Philippines are still contained in the four corners of classrooms. Now, going back again to the issue of classroom, I just would like to ask whether the Department of Education, the House of Representatives through its Committee on Education, have this very statistical data as to the number of pupils that should be in the school to be accommodated in their respective supposedly classrooms, since we have this scenario na lack of classrooms. So have we conducted really these efforts to map out, okay? Mapping out of schools, classrooms, pupils, etc. in the whole country, in urban, in rural, so that we can at least safeguard now the health of the students, the pupils, as well as the teachers when it comes to holding of class recitations. Okay? Because this is an aging problem in the Philippines. But up to now, we cannot see the statistical data out of mapping out efforts wherein we can really show how many pupils should be housed in a particular school, how many classrooms should be built, and then how much should be appropriated to this, because we are just meeting the amount, 32 billion allocated to them in a very general, in a very comprehensive manner, but then as far as this detail appropriation, perhaps, we don't see that, and so that the respective congressmen or respective legislative districts could also somehow make a good judgment as to how much they could also at least give for the different schools. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay. In your question about the statistics, honestly, I don't have the number of students or statistics in terms of students. But in terms of the requirement of schools, we are informed that about 65,000 classrooms has to be built in order to accommodate the 2016 K-12. But as I said, by the 2012, only for the government budget, or Department of Education budget, about 328 billion. But for I know that before the 2016, the 65,000 requirements of classrooms will be given, plus the fact that there is a public and private partnerships. They offered about 25,000 classrooms to be built. So I think that question about the concern of the classrooms before the 2016 will be complied with. Now, in regard to the present situation, because we believe that there are still students holding their classes under the tree, no? Remember that it's still a prevailing problem up to this time, or at this time. And even without the K-12, I don't think that this will be answered because classrooms, readiness, and teachers are our problem since time immemorial. So, but we try. In fact, our parties, no? We're two in Congress, and we're receiving about 140 million a year that's 210 million, and most of us, or 100, almost 100% of our product goes to classroom construction and training programs of teachers. That's why for those perhaps teachers that we'd like to invite you in our office, try to submit your resolution, and I'll try to, more or less accommodate if possible.
I thought that was the last question. Let's give a question, written question. So this will be the last question. This is addressed to the Edna Hall. In the input on public and publicness, the regulation has been practiced since early 1990s in the country. In the energy sector, telecom, airlines, industry, to some. Obviously, the public has been at the mercy of private entities, and the government's hands are tied to protect public interest in the delivery of these public goods in private hands. Would you think it would be wise to regulate them again to retrieve the publicness of these public goods?
I like the question. We answer this question. One of the implications of my argument is that we probably had to bring the state back in. Bring the state back in, meaning to redefine also the role of the state in the context of privatization, and which means therefore that the state representing public interest should play its role in terms of watching the private sector in as far as the promotion and the enhancement of the public interest is concerned. The revisiting of the state may also imply legislation in the context of an accountable private sector and the prevention of a possible capture of public services by the private sector, especially when competitiveness and competition exists not in a level playing field. In that context, I think the concept of the role of the public and the publicness will have to step in, if only to provide a strong support for public goods and public services, and to make this accessible to the poor, especially goods and services that are not necessarily marketable and cannot and would not allow therefore, especially the poor, to have access to these goods. So I think there is a role for a redefinition of the role of the public sector and a revisiting of the concept of publicness, and not simply to say, well, the mode of the day and the mode of the time is that we put the private sector as the hero in terms of public service delivery. At the end of the day, public administration is the promotion of the common good and the good of all. It is not just the promotion of the interests of the private sector. It is not just about the promotion of goods which are only accessible to those who can afford to pay the goods and the services.
Thank you, Bimbo. Now, I would like to thank everyone for their very good discussion and participation. We just have some announcements before we disperse.
For all the delegates here present today, the papers, abstracts, profiles, and PowerPoint presentations, some are available in your USB. You might not know them, but they're in your kit. They're in a tin can, and you might call them keychains. They're actually your USBs. And assembly for the dinner hosted by Mandaluyong Mayor Ben Avalos is at 6 p.m. at the Garden Wing entrance. The Garden Wing entrance is at this side on the lower floor. We are at the lower level. There's another level of one level of this, the Garden Wing, which is